Benelli TRK 502 debuted last year, and it became really a successful motorbike all around the world. And for 2018 its X version came out with some differences, and it is especially offered for those riders who want to have a more or less adventure motorbike, but without spending too much money for it. Let's go through the differences. When the original TRK 502 came out, it was signed as an optional extra, the bigger and off-road wheels. Of course, technically it's not so easy to manage a thing like this. That's why came out the X version, which has the different rim sizes. In the front, instead of the 17-inch rim, we have a 19-inch one with a Metzeler Tourance tire, so it is more off-road oriented, and the whole spoken wheel is also designed for this. So the front part of the bike became a little bit higher. The front telescopes became the same. The width is 50 millimeters, extremely thick, and the travel is the same, 145 millimeters. The only difference is that they are made a little bit softer in the factory. You cannot change anything here, but the working of the whole front part is absolutely perfect for bad roads and light off-road as well. In the rear section, the wheel is still 17-inch, but it's a spoken one, and the tire size also changed to 150 per 70 and 17. This is the tire size now, and it also has a Metzeler Tourance, which is a little bit more off-road oriented tire. The big change is the rear suspension unit under the motorbike, because not only the preload is changeable, as in the case of the base version, but both the dampings you can change without instruments. The only problem is that you have to take apart the whole bike for it, because the rear seat can be taken off with the key of the bike, but the front seat you have to remove with instruments only, and also you have to remove these side panels to change the damping, and also the preload you can change only with removing the same plastic part from the other side. So it's pretty complicated, and this could be a negative thing. Which is also important, that the rear suspension unit, it's interesting because Benelli is not giving the travel of the rear wheel, but the moving ability of the rear suspension. Instead of 45 millimeters, which was in the case of the base version, it became 5 millimeters longer, so 50 millimeters now, and it meant that logically, as the first wheel is bigger, that the whole rear section became a little bit higher. For example, the seat height is now, instead of 840 millimeters, so a little bit longer leg riders are going to be like the TRK 502X. There is one more very important change, that in the case of the base version, the exhaust system was absolutely under the motorbike. As you can see, the TRK 502X got a much more, let's say, adventure looking exhaust, which is pulled up much higher and on the right side of the motorbike. Also very good that the sound of it is designed very nice. So it has a deep sound, and when you are switching down, you can always, or just closing the throttle, you can always hear these little robs from it, and it really sounds very good. Also a big red point for Benelli is the throttle response, because it's absolutely direct. So when you are moving the throttle, it immediately starts the motorbike. Of course, don't think that you are sitting in the Millennium Falcon and jumping through the hyperspace, because it has 48 brake horsepower and 45 Newton meter two-cylinder inline engine, so the acceleration is not going to be hyper sports motorbikes, but this throttle response is even though very, very good. And if once we are speaking about the exhaust pipe, there is a negative side of it as well, because the base version got the side panniers fixing, keeping system, but because of this exhaust system, the X version doesn't have anything there. Another advantage that the exhaust system disappeared from under the bottom of the motorbike, that we have a central stand, but the central stand has a little bit small problem, because at least I couldn't push it down anyhow from this position because of the passenger's foot peg, on a way that I should be able to lift it up as well. So the only system was that I pushed it down with my left foot, put my right one on it, and then from this position I can put it on the central stand. A thing which didn't change is the crash bar. In the case of the base version, this part was, let's say, a negative thing, because from this the whole bike is very wide, especially inside the city. But in the case of an adventure bike, this extra protection is much more an advantage than a disadvantage. Nevezetesen, bazd meg! Na! So if we check out the bike from this position, we can see that in this situation, which is, I think, absolutely natural, because it's going to fall down when off-road riding, just in the same position, that not even the engine, not even the gear shifter, nothing changed the gravel, so it really protects the important parts of the TRK very, very well. Not to speak about that if once, because of the crash bar, the motorbike is not leaning totally parallel with the gravel, but it has this angle as now, it's much easier to stand it up backwards and go on. Nothing. The whole seat position didn't change too much related to the base model. The only difference is that the seat height is more with 4 centimeters, but it changed the whole triangle of the handlebar, the foot peg and the seat. So the whole seat position for me is even more comfortable than in the case of the base TRK 502. There is one thing which is maybe not the best, that the foot pegs are positioned very, very much to the front, maybe much more than in any kind of motorbike in this class I have ever tried in my life. And the result of this is that your foot position is so much to the front that this wide part of the fuel tank is really disturbing your legs when you are riding in a standstill position, in a standing position, and I simply couldn't find a good riding position when standing. This is one of the reasons why I say that this X version is also not a real off-road motorbike. The other reason is the front suspension. The travel is 145 millimeters, not enough for real off-road riding. So even though the wheel size is changed in a very good way, the TRK 502X is also mainly an on-road adventure bike for those people who do not want to ride with 200 kilometers per hour and things like this, but for everyday riding, for very good motorbike trips, it's an excellent motorbike in its own category, with very, very good price, very comfortable sitting position, and if you can keep your off-road abilities only on normal gravel roads, then you are going to love it.
Please push a like for the video, subscribe for our channel and watch our other reviews.